Namaste. Welcome to this global online Ramlila festival. It's the first of its kind in the world. It's going to bring together countries from around the world to perform Ramlila, this Ram Katha, as told in two styles. You will see the dramatic theatrical style or the Natya Dharmi style, and then you'll see the Loka Dharmi style, Maidani, in the open air. The last one is a kind of very old style of performing that's still present in countries like Trinidad, Suriname and Fiji, and in many parts of North India. So this is the first of its kind in the world. And because of the COVID-19, many places will be unable to perform the Leelas they normally do. So Ayodhya Research Institute has decided to put together videos from the different parts of the world where they perform the Ramlila and to showcase for you the different styles. The Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts will also be joining with the Ayodhya Research Institute in sharing their archives of different performances that they have recorded across India, Southeast Asia, and even Russia. So I invite you to enjoy this festival for nearly 30 days.
रामायण सतकोट या पारा। रामायण कितने रूपों में कहाँ कैसे विस्तारित है, अयोध्या शोध संस्थान से शोध करते हुए जो निष्कर्ष मिल रहे हैं वो अत्यंत आश्चर्यजनक हैं। कलिंग युद्ध के बाद पहली बार भारतीय संस्कृति का माइग्रेशन दूसरे देशों में हुआ। अगर आप भारत के नक्शे को ध्यान से देखें तो जो पूर्वी तट है हमारा, उड़ीसा, तमिल और आंध्र प्रदेश, पश्चिम बंगाल, वहाँ से जो कला हमारी कलिंग युद्ध के बाद 200-300 ईस्वी पूर्व से जो विस्तार हुआ, तो साउथ ईस्ट एशिया में वो सारे कला रूप हमें मिलते हैं।
भारत के हर राज्य में, हर भाषा में रामलीला का आयोजन होता है और दुनिया के अंदर भी लगभग हर भाषा में, हर देश के अंदर रामलीला का मंचन किसी न किसी रूप में होता है।
राम सब जगह है, राम सबके। इसलिए राम भारत की अनेकता में एकता के सूत्र है। साथियों, दुनिया में कितने ही देश राम के नाम का वंदन करते हैं। वहां के नागरिक खुद को श्री राम से जुड़ा हुआ मानते हैं। विश्व की सर्वाधिक मुस्लिम जनसंख्या जिस देश में है वो है इंडोनेशिया। वहां हमारे देश की तरह काकानीन रामायण, स्वर्णदीप रामायण, योगेश्वर रामायण जैसी कई अनूठी रामायण, राम आज भी वहां पूजनीय है। कंबोडिया में रमकेर रामायण है, लाओ में तालाब रामायण है, मलेशिया में हिकायत शेरी राम, तो थाईलैंड में रामाकेन है। आपको ईरान और चीन में भी राम के प्रसंग तथा राम कथाओं का विवरण है।
The Ramayana tells the story of the struggle between Lord Ram and the demon king Ravan, who stole Ram's wife Sita and so started the long war. In the first episode, we see how such an evil being as Ravan came into existence. It all began when one day a good king called Pratabhanu, together with his ministers and vast army, went to the forest to hunt. While ranging through the woods, he saw a wild boar, and as he approached the boar, it took flight as swift as the wind. Here you see the king shooting at the boar, but no matter how carefully the king aimed, or how skillful he was, the wily boar evaded the arrows and taunted the king. The boar led the king deeper and deeper into the great forest. The king, separated from his army, lost his way and wandered alone, thirsty and hungry, in the deepest parts of the forest. King Pratibhanu spotted a hermitage. Dwelling in that hermitage, disguised as a hermit, was a monarch whose kingdom had been conquered by Pratibhanu and who now took refuge in the deep forest. King Pratibhanu approached this defeated monarch, who immediately recognized his enemy. Pratibhanu, on the other hand, overcome by hunger and thirst, could not recognize the monarch disguised as a hermit. The false hermit advised of the dangers of being alone in the forest, and invited the king to stay with him and rest till the morning, when he would show him the way out.
This forest is very dark, trackless, no place, wild beasts. You would have to overnight by me in my hermitage, and in the morning you shall leave on a very safe journey. Huh?
Thank you, Swami, thank you.
Samjhe, beta, samjhe.
King Pratibhanu was grateful for the hermit's hospitality. As they settled in for the night, the king told the hermit. He said, "Penniless and homeless beggars like you are a glory to Lord Shiva. Whoever you may be, I bow at your feet." When the hermit saw the king's artless affection and extraordinary faith in him, he proceeded to win him over in every way. The hermit was determined to have his revenge on Pratibhanu, who had stripped him of his kingdom. So, pretending even greater affection, the false hermit said, "I only serve Lord Vishnu. The Lord knows everything without being told. O king, I know you. Your name is Pratibhanu. King Satyaketu was your father. By the grace of my lord, I know everything. Doubt not and ask whatever you will of me, O king." The king, hearing this, asked the hermit, "O gracious sage, I will ask of you a great boon. Let me die of old age, free of bodily pain. Let me never be vanquished in battle, and let me enjoy undisputed sovereignty over the whole world." The hermit told the king, "So be it, O king, but there is one thing you must keep in mind. Even though death himself will bow at your feet, the Brahmins, by virtue of their devotion and penance, will remain a danger to you. O ruler of the earth, if you can bend them to your will, O king, then there will be no one on earth who could conquer you." The king asked the hermit, "How may I win the confidence of the Brahmins, O gracious sage? Please tell me, since I know no friend but you." Seeing that the king was under his influence, the disguised hermit continued his deception and said, "Listen, O king, I tell you the truth. I will help you win the friendship of the Brahmins. Call all the Brahmins to your palace to enjoy a great feast. I will cook the food, and whoever shall taste the food I prepare will become devoted to you.
And I want you to know one thing also, that when you are feeding the Brahmins, you will know I'll be there. I will come as a priest. I'll be at the back. And I'll make sure all is well. For the second time, don't let anyone know about this conversation. All right?
Okay, Swami. I go leave now, yeah.
The king, transported by the powers of the hermit, left the forest for his kingdom in the city of Kekaya. When the king Pratabhanu reached the palace in the city of Kekaya, he summoned one of his subjects and told him to go out and invite all the Brahmins. While the invitations were being extended, the hermit came to the palace disguised now as the palace cook and began preparing the meals for the Brahmins. Secretly, he mixed human flesh into the food he prepared. Brahmins arrived for the dinner. Their feet were duly washed, and they were placed in their respective seats. The moment the food was served, suddenly a voice boomed out. "Up, up, Brahmins, return to your homes. Taste not this food, for it contains the flesh of Brahmins." The Brahmins all stood up, believing the ethereal voice. The king was so stunned, he could not utter a word of explanation or excuse. The angry Brahmins, without regard for the consequences of their words, told the king, "O foolish king, go and take birth in demon form. It is you and your race that is undone, O king. Within a year you shall die, and not a soul shall be left in your family to mourn you." The king was petrified with fear at these words. The Brahmins then hastened away. Taking his opportunity, the hermit threw off his disguise, gathered his army, and led it against the king Pratabhanu. Pratabhanu fought long and hard, but to no avail. King Pratabhanu and every member of his family was killed. No one remained alive. A Brahmin's curse can never fade. After death, Pratabhanu and all his family became demons. King Pratabhanu became a demon with 10 heads and 20 arms. He became known throughout the universe as the demon king Ravan. And what a demon he was! His brother Arimardhan was reborn as the powerful and gigantic form of the demon Kumkaran. Pratabhanu's prime minister, known as Dharmaruchi, became Ravan's half-brother Vibhishan, who became known throughout the world as a devotee of the Lord Vishnu. But Ravan and Kumkaran were so monstrous, wicked, and vile that they sought to subdue the whole world and eradicate religion. There you will notice the gods all chanting the name of the Lord. The chanting of the Lord's name enraged Ravan so much that he led his demons against the holy men. Here Ravan and his demons are destroying the sacred rites of the gods. The gods called upon Lord Vishnu for help, and Lord Vishnu told them that he would manifest himself as 4 brothers in the city of Ayodhya, in the home of Dasrath and Kausalya. Then the Lord returned to his heavenly abode. Brahma told the gods to go down to earth and await the arrival of the Lord Vishnu. He told them that they will wait in the form of monkeys. The gods assumed the form of monkeys and went down to earth to await the arrival of Lord Vishnu. In the city of Ayodhya, there was King Dasrath, who had 3 wives, Kausalya, Kekiyi, and Sumintra. Ram was born to Queen Kausalya. Kekiyi and Sumintra had between them 3 sons, and there we see the Guru Vasish teaching the 4 children to use the bow and arrow. After many years of study in the martial arts and in the Vedas and Puranas, they were grown up. And there we see the Guru Vasish leading the 4 brothers Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughan. One day, the sage Vishwamin came to the court to ask King Dasarath for the help of his son Ram to go into the forest to destroy the demons who were killing and persecuting the followers of the Lord Vishnu. King Dasarath, for fear of harm to his son, told the sage, "O sage, ask for anything in my kingdom. Ask for riches, land, cattle, goods, but don't ask for my son Ram." The sage Vasish interceded on behalf of Vishwamin and asked the king to allow Ram and Lakshman to go with the sage. The king reluctantly agreed and called on Ram and Lakshman, who after paying respects to their father, left with the sage Vishwamin to protect him in the performance of his rites. There we see Ram and his brother Lakshman leaving Ayodhya, their brothers Bharat and Shatrughan, their father King Dasrath, the queens Kekiyi, Kausalya and Sumintra, and the sage Vasish to follow the sage Vishwamin into the forest to combat the demons. Now you can see the sage Vishwamin saying his prayers while Ram and Lakshman keep guard. It isn't long before the demons launch their attack. And there we see Ram and Lakshman going into battle with the demons to protect the sage Vishwamin. There, Ram and Lakshman, having slain all the demons, returned to Vishwamin and the other sages. Vishwamin thanks Ram and Lakshman and says, "Come with me now to the city of Matila, where the king Janak will marry his daughter to the one who draws the bow of Shiva." The two brothers and the sages then leave and travel to the palace of the king Janak to witness the breaking of the bow. The sage Vishwamin and the brothers Ram and Lakshman travelled to the wondrous city of Matila and to the palace of the king Janak, who had a beautiful daughter called Sita. King Janak issued a proclamation to all the kings in the country: "Whosoever shall draw the bow of Shiva shall have his daughter Sita's hand in marriage."
Come all. For this is the time to test your strength. I have heard of the prowess of all the great Ravana and all his demons. Come forth and let me see your strength.
One by one, the kings came to test their strength against the bow of Shiva. King Ravan approached the city of Matila. He also will try to win the hand of Sita. Try as he might, Ravan, like all the other kings, could not draw the unyielding bow of Shiva, and exhausted, had to give up. Ram turns to the sage Vishwamin and bows. He turns to the king Janak and pays obeisance before attempting to draw the bow. There is a hush of expectancy as Ram bows to the bow of Shiva. He picks it up. He draws the bow. He breaks it. Ramachandra ki! The king Janak then went and brought his daughter Sita to Ram. Sita approaches. Ram bows his head as she places the mala over his head. Sitarama Chandra ki. Now the preparations begin for the wedding of Sita and Ram. What a great day it was in the city of Mathila when King Dasrath and his sons and court arrived to witness the marriage of his son Ram to Sita, the daughter of King Janak.
Here now you're witnessing Sita, who was brought forth in order to perform dark sacred rites. The King Dasrath, Guru Vasish, Visesh Ringi, Lakshman, Bharat Satruhan, Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, and all the sages. Everyone was happy in the city of Mathila to witness this great marriage ceremony of Sri Ram and Sita.
After the wedding, Sita took leave of her tearful father, King Janak, to return with Ram, King Dasrath, and the rest of the court to the city of Ayodhya. When they arrived at Ayodhya, they were greeted by Queens Kausalya, Kekeyi and Sumintra. What a happy occasion it was for the city of Ayodhya to welcome the return of its king Dasrath, his sons, and the beautiful bride of Ram. King Dasrath, being an old man, decided one day that he would crown his son Ram king of Ayodhya.
King Dasrath, you could have never made a better choice. I think Ram is the most suitable person to rule this kingdom.
The maidservant Mantra overheard the king discussing his decision with his councillors, and she plotted against the king. She went to the Queen Kausalya.
Oh, Queen! Where have you been all this time? There's a world trouble in Ayodhya, you know. You know what happened? Me and you. Oh, before here, we got killed. There's trouble, world trouble in Ayodhya. What kind of trouble? What kind of trouble? If I tell you
Mantra told Queen Kekiyi that King Dashrath planned to crown Ram, son of Queen Kausalya, king of Ayodhya. She influenced Queen Kekiyi to see that her son Bharath be appointed king instead of Ram. She reminded Kekiyi of the 2 wishes King Dashrath had once promised to grant Queen Kekiyi. She suggested that Kekiyi now ask the king to grant her the 2 wishes.
You remember when I was young and nice, and you like me plenty, and you say that anything I want, you promise me to give. Well, now I want me to give for you promise me. Well, what is your gift? Tell me. You get frightened when I ask you, I know. Oh, darling, how could I get frightened? Because if you are going to ask, I know you are going to tell me no. And you know what I want you to do? I want you to make Bharat king of Ayodhya, and I want you, the next one, to send Rama into ban for 14 years.
When King Dashrath heard the 2 wishes, he was deeply hurt. And he said, "O my queen, you could have asked for riches. You could have asked for the kingdom. But why ask to send my beloved Ram to the forest for 14 years? King Dashrath was so heartbroken, he fell ill. Ram, with Sita and Lakshman, came to see him as he lay sad of heart. When Ram heard what his father, the king, had to say, he turned to Kekiyi and said, "Mother, you could have asked me to go to the forest without claiming the promised boons and causing distress to my father. I would gladly obey you in order to fulfill those wishes." Kekiyi stood up and told Ram that he must go to the forest without any jewelry, without any crown, and she gave to him simple clothes of bark. Ram took them gladly in order to fulfill those wishes to his father, King Dashrath. His brother Lakshman and his wife Sita approached Ram. Lakshman said, "O brother, without you in this kingdom, we are no one. Therefore I, Lakshman, and Sita, your wedded wife, will also go into the forest for 14 years.
What a sorrowful occasion it was in the city of Ayodhya. After to be crowned the king of Ayodhya, today the Lord Sri Ram is leaving his kingdom and going to that forest for 14 years.
When Ram, Lakshman and Sita reached the Punjavati forest, Lakshman prepared a hut for Ram. Lakshman tried to make the hut as spacious and as comfortable as possible for Ram and his wife Sita. When he was finished, he brought Ram and Sita to the hut. One day, Suknyaka, the sister of King Ravan, was passing through the forest of Punjavati, known to be full of rakshas or demons. Passing near Ram's hut, she saw Ram and approached him. She tried to seduce him and asked him to take her as his wife.
Oh, Sri Ram, how beautiful and handsome you are. Would you like to marry me, Sri Ram? You can answer, you get sure. Sri Ram, I love you, Sri Ram. You're beautiful, you're handsome, you're romantic. Oh, you're doing so boy. You're making style on me, Sri Ram. All a boy like me, you making style, me like them, I like you. Sri Ram.
Then Ram turned to Suknyaka.
But I am already married. Look, my brother Lakshmana, why not ask him? He is worthy of your beauty. Oh, look at that beautiful one there. Handsome. Come to it. Oh, Lord. That one beautiful. I think I will like this one. I wonder if he will love me.
Ram rejected Suknyaka and suggested she approach Lakshman. Suknyaka thought Lakshman almost as beautiful as Ram and shifted her attention his way.
Hey, Lakshman, you like me, boy? And I like you. I love you plenty. This is funny, you know. Oh, you fresh up like your brother? You only like a push. Push him.
Suknyaka tried all she could to seduce Lakshman, pleading and dancing, but to no avail. Lakshman told her,
Oh, Princess, I am only Ram's slave. I am not the perfect one for you to marry. Why don't you go back by my brother Ram?
Suknyaka, spurned by Lakshman, returned to Ram.
Sri Ram, I come back, darling. I went by a brother here, beautiful like you, Ram.
Suknyaka, getting no response from Ram, became furious with jealousy and threatened to eat Sita alive.
If you don't like me, I will come and I will eat up your Sita for you. Sita, I will come and eat up Sita, Ram. I will eat you up. Sita ugly.
Suknyaka took on a demonic form. She crept threateningly upon the unsuspecting Sita. Ram called on his brother Lakshman to protect Sita.
Lakshmana, please stop her.
Lakshman leapt on Suknyaka and cut off her nose. Suknyaka, threatening vengeance, left and appealed to her brothers, the demons Kal and Dushan, telling them what Lakshman had done. Kal and Dushan were enraged by Lakshman's treatment of their sister. They immediately went into the city of Lanka and gathered an army of 14,000 demons and came into the forest of Punjavati to destroy Ram and Lakshman. Ram, seeing the 14,000 demons or Rakshas led by Kal and Dushan, told Lakshman to take Sita to a cave and guard her there while he dealt with Kal, Dushan and the 14,000 Rakshas. What you are witnessing here is the battle between Ram and the 14,000 demons in the forest of Punjavati. Just one of the battles Ram fought in order that good should conquer evil. They fought furiously, but one by one the Rakshas fell until they were all vanquished, save one. One demon escaped and returned to Lanka, the kingdom of the king Ravan. And there he told the king Ravan that his brothers Kal and Dushan and their 14,000 Rakshas had been destroyed by Ram. And Ravan said, "Just one man killed my brothers Kal and Dushan. Just one man killed my 14,000 Rakshas. Then I will surely slay him." Ravan was warned against confronting Ram, since not even the gods could destroy him. The only way to destroy him would be to kidnap Ram's wife, Sita. Ravan then left to consult the sage Marish.
Marish, I have come to seek your help. Ravan, you can't go and interfere with them boys and them. They're bad too bad, they're killing people. But Rama will kill you. You go, he killed all your soldiers already. He's a very dangerous man, Lord Ravan. Okay, Marut, I'll take your advice.
Marish warned Ravan again against confronting Ram in battle. Ravan accepted the advice of Marish and began the journey back to Lanka. When he returned to Lanka, he saw his mutilated sister Suknyaka. He was so upset by her condition that he flew into a rage. With new resolution in his heart, he set out again to see the sage Marish. He warned Marish that he would kill him if he didn't help him lure Sita away from her husband Ram.
Oh Marish, I have finally come back again. I need your help. I want you to help me, and you must help me. I want you to disguise yourself into a golden deer so that you can attract Sita, and she will send Ram in search of this golden deer. I will get the chance to run away with Sita.
Marish had no choice but to agree to Ravan's request. Meanwhile, back in the Punjavati forest, Ram, Sita and Lakshman are recovering from the recent ordeal with Suknyaka, Kal, Dushan and the 14,000 Rakshas. They remain totally unaware of the plans King Ravan is hatching to steal away Sita from her husband Ram. In the last episode of the Ramlila, Ram, his wife Sita and brother Lakshman were exiled to the forest for 14 years. While there, Suknya, the sister of the evil King Ravan, tries to seduce Ram and Lakshman. When she is refused, she attacks Sita and Lakshman cuts off her nose. This sparks off a war, during which Ram single-handedly defeats Ravan's army. We rejoin the game as Ravan, seeking revenge, finalizes his plans to kidnap Sita with the help of the sage Marish, who transforms himself into a beautiful golden deer in order to attract Sita. Marish, having transformed himself into a golden deer, approached the hermitage where Ram, Lakshman and Sita lived in the Panchavati forest. Seeing the beautiful golden deer, Sita turned to her husband and asked him, "Can you get that deer for me, Swami?" Lakshman heard Sita's request and immediately intervened. He warned them, saying to Ram, "Brother, that deer is too wonderful to be true. Don't you see how it glows and shines? Maybe it is a demon in disguise." But Sita could not resist the sight of the beautiful deer and once again asked Ram,
"Oh Swami, how beautiful that deer is. Can you get
Certainly, my dear.
Ram turned to Lakshman and said, "My dear Lakshman, I will go in pursuit of the deer. Stay here, my brother, and guard Sita." Ram then went in pursuit of the golden deer. The deer led him deeper and deeper into the forest. While Ram is hunting the beautiful deer, you may notice the approach of the King Ravan. King Ravan has disguised himself as a sadhu. Meanwhile, Ram was still chasing the deer. When they had got to the deepest part of the forest, Ram got a clear view of the deer, fitted his arrow to his bow, and shot the deer. Immediately the deer returned to its original form, becoming once again the sage Marish. Assuming his real form, Marish called out to Lakshman and Sita, mimicking Ram's voice. Sita heard the voice of her husband calling and turned to Lakshman. "Oh Lakshman, your brother is calling for you. You must help him."
Your brother is calling for help. What do you want to happen?
Oh, Sita, I cannot leave here to go anywhere. But Ram told me to stay and take care of you, so I cannot go.
Sita was not convinced by Lakshman's fears of a trick and continued to plead with Lakshman to go and help Ram.
Lakshmana, please go and see what is the matter, please.
Lakshman could no longer resist Sita's entreaties and agreed to go in search of his brother Ram. But before he left, he took an arrow and drew a line across the front of the ashram. All this time, Ravan, disguised as a holy sadhu, was nearby and saw everything. After Lakshman had drawn the line, he warned Sita that anyone crossing the line to come in would be burnt.
Oh, Sita, I have just drawn this line. Anyone crosses, they'll get burned.
Lakshman then left in search of Ram. There we see Ravan as he approaches the hermitage, calling out to Sita, saying, "Hara Hara Mahadev, I Shiva Shankar." But his cries were to no avail. He then attempted to cross the line that Lakshman had drawn, but as he put his foot over the line, a sudden blaze of fire threw him back, and he was unable to cross. Realizing he could get no closer to the hermitage, and that for the moment Sita was beyond his reach, Ravan started to cry out again. "Hara Hara Mahadev, I Shiva Shankar." Sita heard Ravan's calls and began to come out of the hermitage to carry fruit for the sadhu. Suddenly remembering Lakshman's line, she stopped and stood behind it. Ravan had learnt about the line the hard way, and he hesitated before approaching it again and drew back. Sita spoke to him. Pledging that no one in need should leave empty-handed, Sita stepped over the line with her plate of fruit for the sadhu. No sooner had she put one foot over the line than Ravan seized her and carried her off. In the absence of Ram and Lakshman, Ravan was thus able to kidnap Sita and carry her with him into the heavens. As Ravan carried Sita off, she called out to Ram to save her. Ram did not hear. But the loyal vulture Jatayu, who loved Ram, heard Sita's cries and rushed to her defense. Jatayu was a friend of Ram's father, King Dasrath, and had once promised Ram that if he ever needed his help in the forest of Panjavati, he had but to call, and Jatayu would rush to his aid. Lakshman, Ram, help me, please, help me, cried Sita. Jatayu, hearing her calls, attacked the mighty Ravan. The noble Jatayu threw himself recklessly against the evil demon king. Here we see Jatayu battling valiantly with Ravan in his attempt to rescue Sita. What love that noble bird had for Ram, that he was prepared to give his very life here in battle to save Sita. Meanwhile, Ram met Lakshman, who was looking for him. He asked him why he was there alone, and where was Sita. And Lakshman answered, "Oh, brother, we heard you cry out for help, and Sita insisted that I leave her to come to your rescue." "I didn't cry out for help, O Lakshman. As you suspected, the golden deer was no ordinary deer. It was the demon Marish in disguise. But I chased him, and though he was as swift as the wind, I finally shot him down. When my arrow struck him, his true form became apparent, and then Marish, mimicking my voice with his dying breath, called for you and Sita." Lakshman answered, "I knew it was not you, but Sita was distracted by fear and forced me to come." Ram then said that since the Raksha had been destroyed, they should hurry home to Sita, and Ram and Lakshman hurried back to their hermitage. Meanwhile, the battle between Ravan and Jatayu raged on. Jatayu broke off the fight to rest a while. Ravan took the opportunity to trick Jatayu by telling him that the secret of his soul resided in the soles of his feet. Jatayu, taken in by Ravan's trick, told him in turn that his own life resided in his wings. As they threw themselves at each other with renewed fury, Jatayu tried to get to the soul of Ravan by attacking his feet. Ravan was thus able to strike at the wings of Jatayu and sever them from his body. Ravan ki! Leaving Jatayu for dead, Ravan gathered up Sita again and flew off to Lanka. When Ram and Lakshman returned to the hermitage, they found it empty and silent. Sita was nowhere to be seen. Ram and Lakshman started to look for her. They called out, "Sita! Sita! Oh, Sita!"
Mataji!
Ram came upon the Kadamba tree and addressed it. "O Kadamba, your flowers were admired by my beloved Sita. Have you seen her? Tell me where she is." Thus he addressed the trees, the Ashoka tree, the Chundranath tree. "Where is my Sita? Where are you, Sita?" Ram kept on calling, but Sita was nowhere to be seen.
Mataji!
Suddenly Ram stopped. "Oh, look, Lakshman, these are the flowers I had gathered for Sita. The sun, the wind, and the earth have preserved them for me." "But what are these?" "These are some of her ornaments, Lakshman." "Look, there is a shattered chariot, a broken bow. What's this, O Lakshman? Has a battle been fought for Sita?" At the thought of what might have happened to Sita, Ram was overcome with uncontrollable rage. He placed an arrow in his bow and told Lakshman, "My beloved has been taken from me. If the gods do not restore her to me, I shall destroy the world." Lakshman stayed him, saying, "Wait, my brother. Do not destroy the whole world for one man's sin. Seek out your tormentor and punish him by all means, but spare innocent lives." Ram was brought to his senses by Lakshman's words and continued in his search for Sita. Suddenly he heard his name being called and cried, "Oh, look, Lakshman, it is Jatayu, and he seems to be sorely hurt." They approached Jatayu, and Ram placed the loyal bird's head on his lap. As with his last breaths Jatayu called his name and told him that the king of the Rakshas had taken away his beloved Sita. With that, he breathed his last. Ram was overcome with grief at Jatayu's death and addressed him, "O best of birds, I bow to you. I hold you in equal veneration with my departed father." In honor of the noble bird's loyalty and bravery, Lakshman and Ram himself performed Jatayu's funeral rites.
श्री रामचंद्र की जमुना का वंश
Ram and Lakshman continued in their search for Sita. Approaching the western bank of Lake Pampa, they came upon the hermitage of Savari. Savari's guru had forewarned her of Ram's visit, and she was gathering all the most delicious fruits, choosing the sweetest to give to Ram. When Savari saw Ram and Lakshman approach her abode, she recalled the words of her guru and rejoiced. She offered the fruits she had picked to Ram and Lakshman.
One by one I have brought all these fruits to you. This is to be shared between the both of you, to feed you one by one.
Savari led them to a hermitage and bade them sit, while she prostrated herself before Ram, who addressed her. Devout Savari, if you know anything about King Janak's daughter, my wife Sita, pray tell me what you know. Savari replied, O Lord of the Raghus, go to Lake Pampa. There you will meet with the monkey king Sugrin, and he will tell you everything. Then Savari, who had lived all her life for this day, gave herself to the sacrificial flames from which there is no return, and gained salvation. Rama Chandra ki. Ram and Lakshman, after paying their respects to the memory of the devout Savari, continued on their way to Lake Pampa to find Sugrin, king of the monkeys. Sugriv and the other monkeys, as you will remember, were not ordinary monkeys. They were incarnations of the gods. They could change their form at will, and were not only capable of human speech, but were proficient in the arts and the sciences. Sugriv heard that Ram and Lakshman were in the area, and called Hanuman to him, telling him to disguise himself, go to Ram and Lakshman, and find out what they were up to. Hanuman disguised himself as a Brahmin student and approached Ram and Lakshman. When the student met Ram, he told him he was Hanuman and asked him his mission.
I am Rama, son of King Dharmi. We seek friendship with Sugriv, so please take us to him.
Ram told him how they were roaming the forest looking for his wife Sita, and they had been told to seek the help of Sugrim, king of the monkeys. Hanuman told them that his chief Sugrim would make a pact of friendship with him. So saying, he assumed his true form, and picking up Ram and Lakshman, he carried them to Sugrim. When Sugrim saw Ram, he counted his birth as blessed, and reverently advanced to meet him, bowing at the feet of the Lord. Hanuman related to Sugriv the story Ram had told him. Sugriv, with tears in his eyes, said that there was no doubt that King Janak's daughter would be recovered. He told of how, while deliberating with his counsellors, he had seen Sita being kidnapped and being borne through the air crying, Rama, Rama. Sita had dropped her jewelry when she saw the monkeys below. Ram asked Sugriv if he could see the jewelry. Sugriv brought it to Ram. Ram pressed it to his bosom and grieved much. O Sita, O Sita. He asked Lakshman if he recognized the jewelry as belonging to Sita. Lakshman replied, No, my brother, I only worship the feet of Sita. How can I recognize her necklace? Ram's eyes filled with tears as he gazed on the necklace. Sugriv spoke. Listen, O hero of the Raghus, sorrow no more. Take courage in your heart. I will render service to you in every way, so that you may recover Sita again. Rama Chandra ki